Welcome to Charts Today. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of June, and we take a look at the markets. We are looking at this weekly chart on the dollar. It is just sinking a little bit lower with that downside target, but of course, there's a lot of time that we have been going on in this sideways market. So it's really just a case of when will this sideways move break. We are seeing intervention in Japan. That was the previous intervention. We're back at that 160 level. We're at 159.66. The Bank of Japan is going to be bound to be wanting to put in some intervention. And if you look at the last hour, big downside candle there. That's probably what's happening there. So it's quite interesting that we're just seeing that creeping in now. So looking at the rest of the currencies, we've got sterling, waiting to see which way we break here as well. It's all about which way this dollar is going to go. Looking at the Aussie sterling rate, this has really been quite strong Aussie dollar interest rates rising there. Before they have been in Europe, really. Looking at Bitcoin, that's back below the cloud, failed recovery. We are in territory where we're seeing that move below the cloud, waiting to see if we activate that upside target. That's going to be key for Bitcoin as well. Now, taking a look at the Nasdaq last night, this is the short-term chart. Look at that strength of that short-term trend. Upside targets, really quite key there. And if we look at Bitcoin, if we look at the daily chart, we can see there that's really pushing higher as well. So the US market's just looking very, very strong from a technical perspective. And by the way, I've covered this today already on TradingView. So you can catch the video there. I'll put a link in today's Charts Today. You can watch it there. Here's today's recording on TradingView, and the targets there are on the paid spaces in TradingView if you want to use them on TradingView. More and more people are using them there. We're agnostic about where they are used, and they're coming on more and more platforms. So it's the key thing is to actually make the most of the targets. Looking at the S&P, we're seeing here, this is the future, looking strong today. We're just down slightly. Looks like the market will open slightly flat. The FTSE, the top 100 stocks in the UK, look at that, very much more a sideways market. So really quite key there. Nowhere near the strength that we're seeing in the US. The DAX in Germany, we're seeing here is flat, struggling to make a new high there as well, as is the CAC Courant. Japan actually up on that weaker yen, breaking to new high. We have seen the Japanese bond yields, which we have been worried about, just holding there as well. That 2.8% level is quite key. We are seeing bond yields just looking like they're making new lows on the trend, if you like. So we've pulled back and then watch for that move to a higher high, and that's pretty much true of everything. If you look at UK gilts, we've had that respite from 5.2%, but we've put in a little bit of a low on the cloud, and now watch for another leg up. That's going to be quite serious if we make to new highs. Now looking at other markets, the Sensex down 1%. That has activated that downside target. That is not good news. And the Aussie market actually up. So quite key there. We're waiting for the break. If we look at the 60-minute chart, we do see upside targets there. So that is looking quite strong. Brent crude is up 2% this morning. We put out a bullish call for our energy clients. We cover that every morning, of course, and you can see there we've pushed to make that higher high. So we're pretty much bullish on the whole energy mix today. So that's quite key. Looking at gold, that is still looking pretty weak. Here is the 60-minute chart, waiting to see if we activate that downside target, but the daily chart is not looking great. Watch for new lows there. We did see on the Mag 7 some quite big falls back yesterday. A bit of a mixed picture. Apple were up 3%. Amazon were down nearly 2%. Google down 4%. Microsoft giving up some of those recent gains, but that upside target is now activated and we are above the cloud. So that's going to be quite key. And Tesla up nearly 2%. All eyes, of course, on these SpaceX IPO that's coming, and Anthropic, the AI one, and ChatGPT. Trillions of dollars going to be sucked into the market. It'll be very interesting to see how we cope with that. Looking at the Dow, and one of the things I do on the Dow is I rank my stocks. So this is bullish long term. This is all on the Ichimoku clouds, medium term and short term, and it just tells me where the strength is. So these are the strong ones. There's 5 strong stocks that are bullish on all 3 time frames and 3 laggards. Now, if you want to know more about this, go to the resources on Updater and you can download this paper on trend scoring. I submitted this paper and you can read it here. It's just explains the whole methodology for how we find the strongest stocks. And there's 27 combinations when you do that across the 3 time frames, and that's how we look for those strong stocks. So that's really quite key there, and we can see where the underperformers are. So all I have to do is go back, and I know that the top 5 are the strongest. So and I can look on all 3 time frames. It was bullish above the cloud on the weekly and on the daily and on the 60-minute. All of those targets given in line with the trends, because you want targets in line with the trends. So here we have IBM, strong on all time frames now. Caterpillar, this one has been a really strong performer. And then the 3 laggards that have got -6s, McDonald's, downside target, Procter & Gamble, and we know that it's bearish on all 3 charts, new downside target below the cloud, and again Sherwin-Williams, that's also bearish. So that's how we find the worst performers. Now if we go to the LSEG, this is my list here. This is the top performers. Of course, there's 100 stocks here, so there'd be more, and I can just now know that the charts that I'm looking at is where the strength lies. So here we've got Rio, we've got Anglo-American, upside target, bullish on all 3 time frames. HSBC Holdings, same thing here, upside target, bullish on all 3 time frames. Glencore, Barclays. I'm running here on top of LSEG. You could be running on Bloomberg. You could be running on Metastock Zenith, their feed, remembering that Updater is compatible with over 30 different data sources. So you can just choose your data source on the fly and be running on that data source. So really, really very powerful. And now if we look at the downside, here we go. Airlines, no big surprises there. We have, in fact, I've clicked there on the today's percentage. If I go there and look at my totals, I'm going to find, clicking the other way, here are the worst performers. And so now what I can do is I can just go through these and I will find the laggards. If you're a hedge fund running a long short portfolio, this is absolutely fantastic. And we can see downside targets and downward trends. So stocks like Unilever, downside target, Melrose, Whitbread, multiple downside targets. Remember, that's even stronger. 3i Group. So we're seeing these are the ones that are below the clouds on all 3 time frames. So that's really quite key. So do keep an eye on those trends and targets, but the way to do this is to find the trends first and then look at your targets, then look at your support and resistance levels and watch the prices there. But for now, all eyes are on the US market. We had some very strong performances coming in yesterday, unbelievable rises in some of these stocks. So really quite key. Applied Materials, that's the short-term chart. We look at the daily chart, upside targets there, bullish strength, really can't deny that. Watch those trends and targets. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.